do you live in Des Moines, Iowa, or in any of the surrounding communities? If so, you might be interested in knowing that both my wife Ponzi and I are going to be traveling there in a few weeks. I grew up in Iowa and am coming back for a few days to help my dad with a motorcycle rally that he is involved with. And that Wednesday, I believe May 7th, we are doing, I don't know what you would call it, I guess a meetup, just an informal gathering of people who are connected to me in one way, shape, or form. More details about that meetup can be found at upcoming.org, and you can just do a search for the word Pirillo and find out more there. And one of the people I know I'm going to see there again is someone that I knew a few years ago. Before I had moved out of Iowa, I had a house, and across the street, my next door neighbors, although they were the across the street door neighbors more than anything, there were a couple of geeks in that household, including Patrick Hawks, who at that time I don't think was in high school. He's, of course, it's been a few years now, and I think he's well past high school at this point. So I'll be meeting Pat when I get back there. In a few days, he's celebrating a birthday on 4/18 specifically, so happy early birthday, Pat. He sent an email today that I thought I'd share with everybody else. It's a pretty straightforward question, but I think is good to talk about, at least here in this spot. And Patrick writes, as somebody who's at the center of a lot of conversations on the web, comments on your YouTube page, your blog, friend feed, Twitter, etc., how do you keep track of it all? How valuable are the comments on your blog, and would they be just as valuable if they were comments on a friend feed, or as valuable on Twitter? Do you have any advice for those of us who can't spend all day tracking down conversations around our content? Well, I guess the simple answer to this question is don't join so many networks that you can't handle. That's not always practical because, you may have MySpace friends and Facebook friends and Twitter friends and YouTube friends and these friends and that friends and these friends, and they're all over the place. And you can't keep track of them all because each one of these places has a different system for commenting. And some of them are easier to use and manage and others aren't. This is the number one reason why I tell you my real email address in every video, or just about every video that I do, chris@pirillo.com. Because as much as I may not be able to respond to the emails that you send, I'm really not going to be able to respond to them if you send them to YouTube, MySpace, Facebook, etc. Because they're just difficult to manage there. I mean, that's why. Now, as far as comments are concerned and tracking comments, each group of friends is going to have a different, modus operandi. They're going to have a different way of doing things, a different way of communicating. And, I encourage comments on YouTube because I know people are going to comment on YouTube. The quality of the comments on YouTube tends to be a little closer to the bottom of the evolutionary scale of comments, whereas the comments on my blog tend to be, a little better quality. Because it's so easy to leave a comment to a YouTube video, everybody does it. Does this mean I should turn off the comments? No, I do like reading the comments and the feedback that I get on the videos. A lot of it's insipid commentary. And then that's not to say that every person who leaves a comment on the YouTube videos is insipid. And if you thought that I was calling you insipid, well, then you probably are, because I wasn't if you're not someone who leaves insipid comments. And I'm guessing that most people who leave insipid comments have no idea, A, how to spell insipid, and B, know what insipid even means. I value any comment that I get anywhere. I check my MySpace comments maybe once every couple of weeks just because it's kind of a pain in the neck to go through. I don't get a lot of comments on Facebook. Twitter is one of those stream of consciousness places. I've called it a social commons on the web. So it's easier to keep track of things on an ongoing basis. But my preference for any kind of comment is in a mechanism that I can control to a great degree, that's easy to access, that's easy to manage, and that's usually my blog at chris.pirillo.com. I don't read every comment on every single network that I'm on, because most of the networks that, you know, produce comments or commentary from the community at large, YouTube, and I read everything there, or Twitter, and I do read everything there, and then my email, or my blog, and my blog sends full comments in email to me directly into my inbox. Beyond that, I know that I've got a friend feed account. Jury's still out on friend feed, honestly. It's useful, and I know people use it, so me not being there doesn't help, but I can't track everything there with, in my opinion, any degree of ease, and I don't feel like it's giving me more than I could get anywhere else. So I do publish my social media content there, but ultimately, it's not about where someone comments. It's that they are commenting, and you get to know that person for who they are. And I am starting something today, at least through Twitter, because that's kind of the ad hoc social commons on the web right now, and I'm sure will be, you know, for the foreseeable future. I'm going to feature a follower of the day. It's kind of cool. And so I like Twitter because I get introduced to people that either know me or I know them, and, you know, I get to meet people with various backgrounds different from mine. And so when they comment on something that I do, that's extremely valuable because they're taking interest in me. And that's usually what spells the difference in the quality of comments. It's not necessarily where the comment's being placed, but in the person who's placing that comment. And most commentary on Twitter is of high value, genuine in nature, and easily accessible and easily manageable. YouTube, not so much. You get a lot of spammers on YouTube. You do have spammers on the blogs as well, but you know, we try our best to, in terms of producing content, and Wicket's one of them. He hates when he gets spammed. He's got a Linux blog, and it's always getting, like, you know, spammed with, you know, download the BOS. So I don't know. Don't ask me. So it's all about the person. It's not about where they're commenting. And then the second layer is, it's the question of how easy is it to manage the comments in one system or another. And you ultimately have to decide for yourself where most of the people who are reacting positively to the things that you're doing are. And then you pay most attention to them there. And I am an edge case. I am absolutely an edge case. I, you know, love consuming information. And so I tend to look at a lot on a very regular basis and, you know, do my best to share information back and treat everybody with the same degree of respect that they treat me. And hopefully that's a pretty decent degree. But you know, I manage it, you know, best I know how, and if I can't keep up with it, I just can't keep up with it. But I read everything. It's the reason why some of your comments don't actually make it through. Of course, if you're watching this video and you've had your commentary blocked, it's because I likely know who you are, and the fact that you keep on annoying me means you've hit that filter, the bozo filter, if you will. Now, my email address is chris@pirillo.com, no matter if you're leaving a comment on YouTube. And by the way, if you're asking me what kind of comments I appreciate most on YouTube, it's the video follow-up comments. I love those. Now, if you're leaving a question or comment on my blog, I like those just as much, especially if you have something to contribute back to tips or, you know, in this example, you know, how would you answer this question? How do you manage all those conversations that you're having all across the web? Where do you manage them? What do you do? Because everybody's going to have a different answer, and you never know. That answer may lead someone to a solution that had remained elusive until you shared it. That's the great part about being on the internet and sharing ideas back and forth. Well, my blog is at chris.pirillo.com. You can follow me on Twitter. You can subscribe to YouTube. Jeez and crackers, you'd have to try hard not to find me on the internet. In fact, I'm streaming this live video right now to approximately 4,000 people. At least according to the statistic on the, oh, is my background, stop it! Sorry, it kind of gets bored, starts floating around. I know, people in the chat room do too. Every once in a while you see them just kind of floating around. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple people in the chat room were off topic here during this conversation. They're conversations of one in the chat room. It's great with hundreds of people there. Anyway, you're welcome to join us. We're typically talking tech. Hopefully, you know, we sound intelligent when you decide to stop by and say hello. You know, no matter what video may have brought you in or what may have brought you in. I love questions like these that Patrick has submitted, you know, really talking about how to deal with all this information out there, you know, specifically related to the things that you're doing online. So if you're not doing anything right now, why don't you stop by and say hi? We're waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? We're at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.